So I did feel as though it was time for a bit of a channel update, because it has been quite a long time since the last one, and the structure of the content is going to change a little bit moving forward, because obviously very recently I've been spitting out videos as quickly as I possibly could to try and get through all of the 0.96 content that was possible in the time that I had left. So, you know, things are going to change structure-wise moving forward. Like, I won't just be doing one video every single day, because that isn't going to be practical moving forward. I will still be trying to do as many as I can, of course, you know, and that will probably boil down to 2 videos every 3 days, but we'll get more on that later, because obviously the first point of business with the channel update is just to reiterate for anyone who didn't see the last battle replay that I posted up. I will be ending my patch 0.96 content from this moment onwards. In fact, the battle replay that you're seeing in the background of this channel update is actually on 0.96, so this is technically the last that you'll see of 0.96, but obviously I'm not going to be commentating on this battle. It's just a sort of background visual, so that this isn't just sort of backdropped by the main menu or a blank screen. That wouldn't really do. But yeah, 0.96 has been around for a long time at this point, just over a year, and it has been good, to be fair. It's been good to me, it's been good to the community as a whole as well. But it is good that we're moving on, because new content is going to be needed. Like, I can feel my own sort of content becoming a bit stale, because there's really nothing new to talk about in 0.96 anymore, outside of the occasional new map that someone creates, which, to be honest with you, I feel as though that has even slowed down as well, because I think most people who are making maps at this point are doing it to be released alongside 0.97, so things have been getting a bit repetitive of late. So that's why I wanted to sort of put a full stop on 0.96 now, because I don't really feel as though there's anything new that I can say about the patch, and I feel as though it would just be better if we started to move and look towards the future instead, rather than just reiterating over and over what I've already done. So speaking of which, 0.97, that will be the first point of business as well, in that, you know, the replays will continue in more or less the same fashion as they always have done, just on 0.97, which of course means there's going to be plenty more to talk about with regards to maps, mechanics, factions, both sort of completely new factions and new additions to the existing ones. There's going to be a lot, and that's good, because it means that I'm going to have plenty more to talk about. 0.97 is looking very, very good as a general rule as well. There's something for everyone pretty much in there. Every faction has pretty much had at least 1 or 2 additions or tweaks. Some have had complete overhauls, like Dol Amroth, and then of course there's the all-new factions in Numenor, Dorwinion and the Shire that are being added as well. And not too long after release, I believe the plan is for Ered Luin and Dol Guldur to join in as well, and then that will be the complete roster of Reforged factions, because there simply won't be any room for any more factions. So that will be the, you know, the completed list essentially. There will of course be potential changes that can happen to all of the existing factions then, but that will be all of them. There will be no all new factions being added after that. So, you know, that will be a bit of a, that sort of, again, there's a sign that perhaps Reforged is sort of coming towards the sort of the finished article as well. There's still a long way to go, of course, but 0.97 I do believe will be the biggest patch in Reforged, sort of in the entirety of its development cycle. You know, there's a ton of new stuff that's been added, and just the fact that a campaign is also being added is probably one of the reasons why development for this patch has taken so long, because that is a big new addition, and obviously the first time you introduce something like that, it's obviously going to take a lot of development time. So, you know, I certainly have sympathy for the devs there, considering they've put a lot of hard hours into this, so I'm very much looking forward to it. Yeah. As far as the campaign goes, though, I probably won't be doing one right from the off, purely because I don't really feel as though my style of content actually fits a campaign all that well. I might do it if there is enough of a demand for it, but I'm not really too sold on the idea as it stands, if I'm being honest. I do believe there are people who are better placed to actually do that instead of me. We'll see. Again, that's probably the most changeable thing that I have with regards to what I'm going to let people know through this channel update. Is a campaign might happen, but I'm less inclined to do it than perhaps some other people might be. But we'll see. Again, it's all a matter of demand. If people do want me to do one, then ultimately I will. But if it's just up to me, I probably will give it a miss and just continue doing the multiplayer coverage and the scenarios and all of that, because I do feel as though that's where my strengths are. And also just the fact that I do tend to get enough replays, especially on 0.97 when I'll be playing in a lot more games as well. I'll probably have enough replays to completely fill out my schedule anyway, which I think more people would actually be more interested in seeing than a campaign. But again, we shall see. But one of the things that I will certainly be doing is I will be restarting the faction showcases once again. Now, the faction showcases, of course, are now outdated because everything will be changing very much in 0.97. Most factions will have some new stuff that will be worth going over, so I will be completely restarting them from scratch, and we'll be going through all of them. So that'll be interesting because, again, there's new factions, there's very significant changes to the existing ones as well. So we'll be going through them from start to finish again, and that will ultimately feed into the structure that I'm thinking of implementing, where I'll do 2 videos every 3 days, 1 replay and 1 faction showcase, and that will sort of make up the bulk of my schedule, because also it allows me to be a little bit more selective with the replays, because obviously recently with the 0.96 ones I've just been trying to get through as many of them as I can. Some of them are of higher quality than others, whereas if I can be a little bit more selective, it generally will mean that the quality of the battles will be sort of a bit of a guarantee of quality on the battles beforehand, so you know that anything I post up will be a really good battle rather than one that's a bit overly one-sided, which has happened recently, but that's more of just my effort to use all of the replays that people have given me of late. But yeah, so faction showcases and replays will be sort of working like that. That is how I believe I will be structuring my channel content from here moving forwards, at least in the near future and probably into the far future as well. And also, once I'm done with the faction showcases, that will probably continue, because I think I will also be returning to doing a few top 10s and top 5s, more likely top 10s, because I feel as though that's a little bit more substantial. And as soon as the faction showcases are done, their slots I think will be filled by top 10s, or just another smaller replay once we're done. But there are so many faction showcases to get through, like that will probably last us a good 6 to 8 weeks, to be honest with you, of the 2 videos every 3 days. So yeah, top 10s will be sort of making their reappearance at some point in the future as well. At least that is the plan. Obviously, as Reforged has gotten a lot more complicated with a lot more unit types, it's become a lot less cut and dry to do these. It used to be very easy to do the top 10s, if I'm being honest, because it was very easy to sort units into categories, and their relative power levels were easy to work out just from a few very basic tests and looking at their stats. That is not the case anymore, however, so I will need to put in a little bit more prep to actually do them, but it's doable. It's doable. It's just the case that I've been reluctant to do so while development has been going on, especially the development of 0.97, which will be a very significant change, but I feel confident enough that I'll be able to restart them when 0.97 is actually upon us. And then, something else, probably the biggest announcement I have, because so far the only, the return of the faction showcase and the top 10s are all well and good, but I feel as though some people are probably expecting them. This, however, is something that I'm going to be doing with J-Monster, and that is some historical battles. So essentially we're going to be sort of setting up scenarios, talking through the historical battle itself, editing it together, and then obviously having a scenario where the historical battle is reenacted, and maybe the result will be as it was in the lore, or maybe it will be different. That'll be an interesting thing to behold. And yeah, that's going to be a joint project between J-Monster and myself, which will... there won't be sort of a set timetable for that, because to be honest with you, the time differences in the time zones between myself and J-Monster it's not as bad as it could be, but it's pretty awful, because he's in Canada and I'm in the UK, so that means to get our schedules to line up is tricky, but it is the sort of battle that you can look upon sort of happening every now and then, and it will be sort of more effort will have to be put into these to make them good, so every now and then you'll probably see a video with higher production values, more editing, and obviously sort of the set piece to a historical battle in the Lord of the Rings setting. So I'm actually looking forward to doing that, because I feel as though, myself and J-Monster, we haven't actually done an awful lot together, considering, we have been sort of doing Reforged content alongside one another for quite some time at this point. But again, a lot of that comes down to the time zones, I feel like. But I think with sort of a set project that both of us are working on, we'll actually be able to do some collaborations, which I'm looking forward to, because I feel as though that's something that probably should have happened before now. And in fact, there was the plan to do it back during the Christmas tournament, but unfortunately the battle we were going to collaborate on ended up being a blizzard in Mordor that we couldn't actually see anything on, so we just decided not to bother in the end. But now, finally, we will be doing something. I feel like historical battles sort of in the lore is something which most people will be able to get behind as well, because obviously there are many people within the community who are big on the lore and making things lore friendly. So this should be sort of perfect for you in many ways. So that's what's going to be happening with regards to the short term. Long term as well, there probably won't be all that many changes to the channel, actually, because you may remember in the last channel update I was talking about, there's a lot of potential outcomes with regards to my finishing of my undergraduate degree. However, I will be doing a master's degree next year, so a master's degree to be honest with you, there may be a few gaps in the schedule when that starts, but it won't be quite as drastic as if I was to get full-time employment, which obviously would then drastically impact the channel. I would have to drastically cut back on the amount of content that I was making. But with a master's degree, I still have a degree of freedom with regards to my schedule, and that means that I will still be able to more easily fit in recording sessions and the like. So to cut a long story short, this essentially means that there will be another year of the channel not really changing with regards to the amount of content that I'm putting out. So that's a good thing, of course, because it means that I'll be able to devote a little bit more time to this than I would if I did have full-time employment straight after my degree, of course, which would have affected how much the channel was putting out in the immediate future. But yeah, so September the 16th is when I believe my master's starts, and then I think it ends around late June next year. Of course, following on from that, the future of the channel is much less clear, because I will probably have full-time employment after my master's degree, because, you know, there's a program going on within the university which essentially means you're almost guaranteed a job come the end of it, which will of course affect my ability to put out content at the same rate that I'm doing now, but that is sort of looking into the far future. So again, for the time being, not a great deal is going to change. In the long term future, there may be a few more substantial changes, but we'll of course talk about those closer to the time, should they be relevant at all. So yeah, other than that, with regards to other games, of course I have been talking mostly about the amount of content and sort of the amount of Reforged stuff that I'm going to be putting out. Three Kingdoms was a game that I did intend to do a little bit more on, however, well, intended to do a little bit more on when it released. However, what has become quite clear with regards to the Three Kingdoms is that campaign-wise, it's pretty terrific. You know, I've really enjoyed the campaigns in Three Kingdoms. However, as I've said, my channel doesn't really suit campaign content all that well, to be honest with you, I don't think. And with regards to the multiplayer for Three Kingdoms, it is very easy to exploit certain mechanics, and also with regards to the way that battles can actually work out, it's quite limited. So multiplayer content for Three Kingdoms is not really something that I intend to do too much more of. There might be the occasional one, like if there's an event going on one of the Discord channels that I'm a part of, and there's sort of a large-scale Three Kingdoms thing going in, I may very well sort of jump in and record a battle for that, but it is going to be a very here and there sort of thing. I'm not really going to be too dedicated to any Three Kingdoms content. Other games, again, it's difficult to sort of plan out what other games I might do, but I did actually intend to do a little bit of content for the Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, because I'm a big fan of Age of Empires 2. I really do enjoy it. I'm not really sure what form that content will take just yet. But I do feel as though sort of my channel has sort of morphed into being this sort of channel that's a little bit more focused around the mechanics of a game, and Age of Empires 2 is incredibly sort of, it's got a lot of deep mechanics going on with that game. There's a reason why it's managed to survive through the years as sort of a really well played RTS game, because there's a lot going on there. So I might do a bit of Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition content as well by the time that comes out, but we shall see. That's obviously something for the autumn, and a lot can change between now and the autumn, so not really too big on making plans that far ahead, but that is essentially what's going to be going on. So to give a summary, ending the 0.96 coverage, obviously the replays will be continuing in 0.97, as well as some faction showcases and some top 10s. The form that this will take will be, there'll be one replay every 3 days, in addition to one faction showcase and one top 10. So again, within sort of 3 days you'll have one replay and one faction showcase or a top 10. That's sort of what I'm running off now. There may be the occasional extra video during the summer when I know that I have a little bit more time to play with, but obviously, you know, going forward, especially when my master's degree starts, you know, that will definitely be the form that I'm using. There will be the historical battles with J-Monster, which of course be on the lookout for those, because it's going to be a sort of more in-depth project that we're both going to be doing, a little bit more in the way of editing, a little bit more obviously in the way of scripting as well. So, you know, most of my videos, in addition to this channel update, as I'm sure you can tell, not really scripted, just a sort of spontaneous thing. Long term, my master's degree means that I will be able to continue working on the channel in the same manner that I have been doing so up till now, at least until the end of next June. From that point on, becomes a little bit less clear, but we shall see. And other games, maybe a little bit of Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition content when it comes out. You know, maybe the occasional Three Kingdoms multiplayer battle, but that's a little bit less certain. Other than that, mostly going to be Reforged content for the foreseeable future. So yeah, I hope you found this somewhat informative, sort of lets you know what I'm going to be doing moving forward. And I hope you'll join me for whatever is next, which will probably be sort of a grand opening for the patch 0.97, I would hope.